First things to know is what the Airline Deregulation Act (ADA) is. The ADA was enacted in 1978 in the United States with the aim of deregulating the market. To do this, the government controls on the commercial aviation industry were removed and the industry were open to the competition, allowing new airlines and allowing the use of secondary airports. Fatal accident rates in jet aviation on US and Canadian routes decreased from 55% to 82% for the period 1979-1987 compared to the period 1969-1978. However, there were several high-profile accidents and incidents that have occurred in the years since airline deregulation. Many people, including Jordan, suggest that these accidents were the result of airlines cutting corners on safety to save money and stay competitive. There has been much debate as to whether or not transport deregulation is the cause of the erosion of transport safety. There are many arguments for and against the association between the deregulation process and the erosion of safety in air transport. First of all, argument for the association. Many people think that the deregulation process increased competition. Deregulation of the airline industry has increased competition between airlines, leading to cost-cutting measures such as the reduction of staff, maintenance, and safety protocols, which can lead to a potential erosion of safety standards. 36 operators in 1978 to 123 in 1984. Secondly, deregulation has reduced government oversight, allowing airlines to self-regulate and make safety decisions based on cost consideration rather than safety concerns. Then, the cost-cutting measures undertaken by airlines in response to deregulation can put pressure on safety protocols, including maintenance check and pilot training, which can increase the risk of accidents. And to finish, deregulation has led to increased pilot training costs, causing airlines to reduce training standards, leading to inexperienced pilots flying commercial planes, which increase the likelihood of accidents. However, many people say that there are no link between deregulation and the erosion of safety in air transport market. Firstly, their argument is that the deregulation has spurred technological innovation in the airline industry, leading to significant improvements in safety, such as improvement navigation system and safer aircraft design. Secondly, deregulation has led to an adoption of more rigorous safety standards by airlines, with many airlines implementing voluntary safety protocols to protect their passengers. Thirdly, deregulation has improved the efficiency of airlines, which has allowed them to invest in safety measures and technological that improve safety. Lastly, deregulation has increased competition in the airline industry, forcing airlines to compete on the basis of safety and reliability, which has resulted in higher safety standards overall. In conclusion, while deregulation has brought many benefits to the airline industry, there are concerns that it has also led to a potential erosion of safety standards. However, some argue that technological advancement, improved safety standards, and increased competition have counterbalanced these concerns, leading to a net improvement in airline safety. Economic regulations are designed to manage the financial aspects of air transport, including fares, routes, and the number of flights. They aim to ensure fair competition, maintain safety standards, and prevent market power abused by dominant airlines. Some examples of economic regulation in air transport include price regulations. It's when government may regulate airfares to prevent predatory pricing practice or ensure affordability for consumers. Route regulation is when governments may limit the number of flights on certain routes to maintain fair competition and prevent airlines from monopolizing certain markets. Capacity regulation is governments may restrict the number of seats airlines can sell on certain routes to prevent overcrowding and maintain safety standards. And to finish, slot allocation is when governments may allocate slots for takeoffs and landings at congested airports to ensure fair access to all airlines. Non-economic regulations, on the other hand, are designed to ensure safety and security in air transport. They cover aspects such as technical standards, training requirements, and safety procedures. Some examples of non-economic regulation in air transport include aircraft certification is when aviation authorities must certify aircraft before they can be used for commercial flights, ensuring they meet safety in performance standards. Pilot licensing and training. Pilots must undergo rigorous training and meet certain standards before they can obtain a license to fly commercial aircraft. Air traffic control is when air traffic controllers monitor and manage air traffic to prevent collisions and ensure safety in the skies. And to finish, security regulation is when airlines and airports must comply with security measures to prevent terrorism and ensure the safety of passengers and crew. The liberalization process or deregulation in the US and elsewhere affect both economic and non-economic regulations in the airline industry. Economic regulation, such as those related to entry and exit, fares and routes, were significantly affected by deregulation. Prior to deregulation, these regulations were put in place to promote competition, protect consumers, and ensure profitability for airlines. However, after deregulation, these regulations were removed, allowing airlines to operate with greater flexibility and autonomy. Non-economic regulation, such as those related to safety, were also affected by deregulation. While these regulations were not removed entirely, the governments with oversight and control over safety regulation were reduced, allowing airlines to self-regulate to a certain extent. Overall, the liberalization process in the United States and elsewhere affects both economic and non-economic regulation in the airline industry. It brought about significant change in the way that industry operates, allowing for increased competition, lower fares, and more choice for consumers, but also potentially leading to a reduction in safety oversight and job security for airline workers.
In this part, I'm going to talk about accidents and some measures adopted to prevent them. First of all, with aviationsafety.net, we can see some information concerning airliner accidents. In 2022, there were 115 accidents, the most recent source. And during this year, more than 230 people died. Many of the statistics are interesting, including the time of travel when accidents are most common. It's during the landing in 2022, and the 5-year average number of accidents from 2017 to 2022. There were 91 fatal accidents with 1,630 fatalities. And the worst year from these 5 years was 2018, with more than 560 fatalities. Concerning corporate jet accidents, in 2022, there were 35 accidents and 17 fatalities. It's also at the landing that the most accidents happened. So with this, we can deduct that the next security innovation has to be more on the landing part. We made the table, you can see in the PowerPoint, using the data provided from the website mentioned before, which represents the number of accidents recorded since 1945. We can see that aircraft accidents have decreased significantly since this year. However, in the 1980s, the number has remained stable with an average of 200 accidents per year. This number has decreased following the COVID-19 restrictions, but in 2022, again, there were still 167 accidents. At present, in April 2023, there are only 29 accidents, including one with more than 71 deaths. And now I'm going to talk about some measures adopted to prevent them. So these are some of them. Okay, explosive and incendiary materials are prohibited. Flammable articles in the plane are prohibited. Gases and pressure vessels are also prohibited. Weapons, matches, oxidants and organic peroxides, infectious substances, corrosives, organic materials, and radioactive materials, magnetic materials. And that's all about this. Some measures, security measures, innovations adopted by the industry are very interesting to see. So the use of drones has facilitated aspects such as the inspection of the infrastructures, like drones fly around the airports to check that everything is okay in a faster and more efficient way, as it would be like in the airports, as I told. Okay, 3D printing has also been revolutionary when it comes to creating parts for airplanes, for example, because they can try with these printings instead of directly creating the piece. Okay, they create prototypes, helping to reduce the cost that previously had to be able to perform this function. Okay, virtual reality is also being used to train pilots. They can improve their safety when flying, and also they can act appropriately in emergency situations. Okay, the use of augmented reality is also a major technological innovation. It makes it possible to see and detect almost immediately the components and parts that are in a state of repair in a very precise way. And finally, artificial intelligence, which helps to improve efficiency, analyze all the information, and plan new flight paths.
Okay, so why does aviation have the highest level of security? Aviation is considered to be the safest means of transport, with one serious accident for every 2.4 million flights. This risk is so loud due to a series of steps that are followed to the millimeter when a takeoff is planned. There are a series of basic rules to be respected in order for the engine to start. The team of technicians, pilots, and crew members also follow all kinds of procedures and preventive measures in the event of an incident occurring. In total, the aircraft undergoes several MOTs. That is daily, one before the first flight, another one every 100 hours in the air, another one every 600 hours, the next one every 18 months, and the so-called big shutdown every 5 years, or its equivalent 30,000 flights hours. However, the probability of suffering a car accident skyrockets. In Spain, 1 out of every 356,357 journeys ends in an accident. And according to the WTO, World Health Organization, 3,500 people die every day in a traffic accident, which is also the leading cause of death among young people aged 15 to 29. 50% of road fatalities are pedestrians, cyclists, or motorcyclists. So now I'm going to talk about the usual occurrences leading to aircraft accidents. That are the following: abnormal contact with the airport runway, contact outside the runway but close to it, failure or malfunction of an aircraft system or component, fire or smoke from inside or outside the aircraft, impact with ground surface, water or obstacle, loss of control in flight, and finally departure from the airport runway, whether takeoff, landing or taxiing. So by comparing the number of accidents and deaths that occur in the year 2022 and the different means of transport, we have obtained the following data. The first one is the air transport. 34 air accidents were recorded, 7 of which were fatal, resulting in 179 fatalities. The second one, road transport. There were 1,042 fatal accidents in Spanish roads, in which 1,145 people died and another 4,008 seriously injured. with a rise in the number of victims traveling by car and a fall in the number of people traveling by motorbikes, bicycles, or pedestrians. And the last one, maritime transport. 345 people have died or disappeared at sea. 48% in interventions on precarious vessels, and 20% in activities not related to vessels, such as people falling into the water from the shore, surfing, windsurfing, or scuba diving.
Finally, we have chosen an example that has really caused like an impact on us. Like, as aircraft accidents are very rare, when they happen, they cause a huge impact on people, on the brand, on the industry in general. On a personal level, they can cause confidence problems when flying again with the same company that had the accident or with the aircraft model that had the accident, as a perception of poor safety. Okay, the example we have chosen is the Boeing 737 MAX. Okay, this Boeing aircraft emerged as a response to a new Airbus A320. Okay, these two aircrafts are the most widely used in the commercial aviation industry. When designing this aircraft, the Boeing 737 MAX 8 is the appropriate name. Yeah. An existing airframe was used and new engines were added to increase the efficiency of the aircraft. Okay, all this was done to avoid having to train workers and pilots from scratch, as it would be a great cost to the company. So the fatal mistake they made was that they entrusted the called MCAS system. It's Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System. Okay, with the stability of the aircraft without previously warning the pilots of this. Concretely in the case of Lion Air, okay, which had a very fatal accident. The situation drastically reduced people's confidence in Boeing, and the safety they have always offered was questioned by many people. The conclusion of this example is that instead of valuing the safety of its passengers, Boeing made the mistake of wanting to maximize its profits and bring out a new aircraft in the shortest possible time due to the pressure created by Airbus, and causing a very, very, very negative impact on the air transportation industry. Thank you very much for listening.